the Cuban communist tyranny expressed full support for the Russian regime in the Ukraine conflict, in the Ukraine invasion, which made many people remember essentially the Cold War era relationship between both nations, between both regimes. In a statement, Cuba's foreign ministry expressed its full support for the Kremlin, and of course it also blamed the United States for ramping up threats against Vladimir Putin and aggravating the crisis. In the statement, the Cuban regime said, and I'm quoting the Cuban regime, the US government has been threatening Russia for weeks and manipulating the world. It has supplied weapons and military technology, deployed troops to several countries in the region, and applied unilateral and unjust sanctions. This statement came a couple of hours after the Kremlin announced that it would postpone Cuba's debt payments. This is exactly what Havana was looking for, given the fact that during the whole conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the communist tyranny has remained silent. Before the invasion against Ukraine, during these days where the US intelligence agencies were reporting that it was a matter of time until Russia decided to invade Ukraine, Cuba didn't say any word. Cuba didn't publish any type of statement whatsoever. Nevertheless, it published this pretty significant statement after the Kremlin decided to take this step, after it decided to postpone Cuba's debt payments. So Havana, the Cuban tyranny, needed this favor from Russia because, according to a Reuters report, the sugar industry of Cuba is heading to its worst season in history, which will make Cuba's economic crisis even worse in the short term. And of course, we're talking about a scenario that the communist regime of Cuba will do anything to prevent. We need to remember that these types of tyrannies not only dislikes a lot the opposition, but also make every single effort to prevent any type of massive manifestation from happening. I mean, this situation, you can also combine it with what we reported in previous episodes here on Newsweek about the widespread protests that took place in different cities across the Caribbean island, which was something quite historic because these were the first massive anti-government protests. So on this moment, the Cuban regime is not exactly on a power position. So given the situation, it will do anything to prevent this problem from growing up, from escalating. So the fact that Russia decided to postpone these debt payments is actually good news for the Cuban regime, and it was essentially the price that they needed to get before expressing its full support on Russia on its invasion against Ukraine. Reporting from Medellin, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.